Hey guys, thanks for joining us again this week as we release our second video in our consistent video release that we started 2 weeks ago. So this week I'm going to give you an update so you can see our okra and how it's doing. I'll give you a hint, we've got one over the size of my hand already, and so we're pretty excited about that. And just a little bit about how the garden is doing. And then also we're going to have a video today about doing some propagating of some plants, basically cloning plants. So no Star Wars is involved, but we will have some unique things going on today. So thanks so much for watching. Greatly appreciate it. Look at the size of that okra. Done is we have cut 2-liter bottles in half, essentially, or close to half, where depending on the design of the bottle, where it will either slide over or slide inside of the top, so it'll have like a mini greenhouse. But in order to make these work correctly, we've got to put drain holes in the bottom. So I couldn't find my vice grip, so I'm just using a nail, a pair of pliers, and we're going to use a heat gun. Once this heats up, we'll just stick some holes in the bottom so that the water doesn't back up. Thankfully, this plastic shouldn't take a lot before it will go through. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Plan 1 fails. Let's try and find the blowtorch. All right, since heat gun wasn't putting out enough heat, got a little propane torch. That should be the answer. We turned this thing off before. Man, it must have been a beast. That's not really not one of that leaking. It's warmer than you think. Woo! It is hot, Lauren. It is hot. Oh yeah. Now we're cooking with gas, Lauren. So I'm gonna try an experiment here. I'm gonna put some on the very bottom. A few of these I'm kind of just gonna put just to the side so it can hold a little bit of water. All right. So all three of these now have holes in the bottom. You can see this one, I put them in the bottom itself. These other two, put it in the side. Felt like that might work a little bit better so that it can keep a little bit of extra moisture in the very bottom. There shouldn't be any plants down that far, but that way maybe the roots will really wick down towards that. We'll see which works best and then we'll know for next time. So the next step is for us to put some potting mix in. So we've got some Pro Mix here. It says BK55. We got this from our local hardware store. He said this was the best stuff for planting containers, and man, it looks good. A nice quality potting soil. He told me it should stay nice and fluffy, which was the main thing that I was concerned with. All right, so now that we've got our potting soil inside of the bottom of our 2-liter bottles, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go get our cuttings and we'll put those in here. And they say to mist them. They wanna be moist, but not dripping wet. So there's kind of a balance there. And that it takes about 6 to 8 weeks or maybe even longer for these rootings to put on roots. I know I've been trying to root several other things with just in water with some rooting hormone. A little bit of success, but not a whole lot. I've heard putting it in potting soil is really the key. So we will see how that ends up working out. All right, so we're back. I got our cuttings. We got some camellias that I just cut here a couple days ago. I had to trim up a bush because of doing some other stuff around the house. And I've got these are wild rose cuttings. I actually dug up one, I don't know, it's been almost a month or so ago. I know that now is not the time to be, digging up plants and transplanting them, that kind of thing. But it looks like this wild rose is taken. It was right when they were blooming. It's beautiful pink. And I just want to put some more on our fence line. So kind of just have it lined with wild roses. I think that'd be beautiful. I know that there's at least one other YouTuber, I believe Cog Hill, who he said that's where he's gotten all his roses from. So that's kind of where I got the idea. And I appreciate that. And him and Peach has given us that idea. Look at that. I do have a friend. So we've got our 3 2-liter containers. And then what we're gonna do here is I'm gonna do the camellias first. I'm kind of wanting those to root a little more so than the roses. The roses I'll love to have, but I really kind of want more camellias. Each of these, it said to let them be about 4 or 5 inches long, and then just keep kind of the top 2. So I don't have my tape measure on me, but I'm assuming that about right here is about 4 inches. So I'm gonna trim right above right here on this node, and I believe these are sharp enough. I had to kind of check through and see if I can get them loose. There we go. All right, so from tip to palm, I believe it is just below, and you always want to cut at a diagonal, clean cut. You always want to do that because that gives you more rooting space. Cut these, all of them about 5 inches. So we're gonna cut just below a leaf node, I believe is correct. So 2. That one where I cut before is kind of already that, but I'm gonna cut a fresh spot just so that I can put some rooting hormone on here, which we'll do in just a second. That's gonna be an extra that we don't need because it was extra long. This one here. So that is 4. And from what I've read, you want to get growth from this year. So you want it to be fairly new growth. It says late spring, early summer. I always do. Just put them in a little bit of water just to get them moist. And then you want to take some rooting hormone. You can get all different kinds. This is green light. Take your rooting hormone, just dip this in. Just coat it about 1 inch or 2 up, and then you only want to put this in about 2 or 3 inches. About like that. And then they said the top 2 leaves, so I'm going to break this other leaf off. I'll do the same thing with this next one. We'll go ahead and break the leaf off first. Again, get that rooting hormone on there really well. And it said to separate them about 2 to 3 inches apart. So I'm gonna do about like that. Since I know I'm gonna be putting a cap on this, I'm trying to make these leaves turn to the inside. Again, go down to 2 leaves. Forgot to moisten this a little bit. That'll work. And again, you know, this is just something you can do, and if you got regular indoor plants, just put it nearby so you check on them. You can water them. Actually, you're gonna mist them, so I'm gonna show that in just a second when she brings back our little spray mister. That's the last one here. All right, so they might not be quite 2 to 3 inches apart, 1.5 inches at least, depending on which one. But I think that's mainly for roots. So whenever they do start growing roots, then you have, you can separate them. So that's kind of the key there. Tap these down a little bit because you don't really want any air pockets around. You want them to have fairly firm around where they're going to be producing roots. All right. So there's our camellias. Now what we'll do is we'll work on our wild roses here. I've got some other roses that actually are some orange climbing roses that we have that I had to trim back, and I've had several of those and they just haven't done real well either, but some of these wild roses look a whole lot better. So one thing I'm going to do with the rose, I kind of just read this, I don't know that it really makes as much of a difference or not. But they said you kind of cut off the thorns and then you just scrape back that outer layer. And this outer layer being scraped back is supposed to give you a place to produce roots. I'm going to cut this back I'm going to leave it. It looks like it might be producing some. These have been sitting in the water for quite some time, but they hadn't died off. So we'll do this. This outer layer off. All right, so you can kind of see now we have this here. Again, I'm going to show it different water just to make sure that's fresh. And we're going to stick this in the rooting hormone. Put a good coating on it. And again, I'm going to stick it. Well, I'm going to put some water. Well, this is the one that had the holes on the bottom and water immediately came pouring out. That other one, it did not. Thinking my idea to put those holes on the side might be better. It doesn't allow that water to just drip through. It gets a chance to really soak in. Rooting hormone. Stick it a few inches in. Water on it. We'll stick it in our camellia bucket. Again, we can put them kind of snug, it doesn't matter. I don't think. Again, this is kind of an experiment. I've done similar before, and I know that if I can get this to work, my main goal is to learn to do blueberries. I've done the method where you kind of lay down a limb on some thornless blackberries that I have. That has worked well. I just need to separate them. Let's go ahead and, this one actually has a little bit of root coming on right here, and I'm not going to disturb that. I'm just on the edge again. On the other one, but that's okay. Those will work for now. So, and I don't know how many minutes that took us. "20 minutes. We had a little bit of a break too, but in about 20 minutes we made 2 mini greenhouses with approximately 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 or 8, so about 15 cuttings in each. And if we just kind of miss that when we water our other indoor plants and kind of keep an eye on them, then hopefully if we just get a couple plants out of that, then it'll be kind of worth it. So it's either that or go buy you well, you can't really buy a wild rose, can you? Or you go buy you a camellia plant at, $15, $20, depending on where you are, the larger ones. So hopefully we can get some of those. And the cool thing about doing it this way too is you basically end up with a clone of the original plant. So your plant will be basically the same, or essentially the same, as the plant that you cut it off of. So we've got one camellia that came with the house. That's the one these came off of, and it's a darker color red camellia. And so we can put one on the other corner of the house once these get larger to kind of match, or put it somewhere else around if we want to. We just recently got some other camellias when we picked up some other plants for the yard, and they're white. So you know, once those grow a little bit, we can take cuttings off of that if this is successful, and we can try and have some white camellias, a clone of those, which is kind of neat. So again, thanks so much for watching. Thanks for joining us on Dean Family Acres. As always, give us a big thumbs up, subscribe. But when you subscribe, be sure and hit that bell. You know who you hit that bell like? Mike Tyson in the 1980s. So hit that bell like him, and then just continue to watch us, follow us, and watch some of our other videos as well. You might learn something with us. Hey, it's just something about trying something new and possibly learning. Thanks for watching. All right, Lauren, touch my face again.
I was trying to balance it on her nose. She's not
It was already going.
Okay, yeah.
You good? Woo! It is hot, Lauren. It is hot. I think my lovely assistant got lost. Oh, look at that. Look at that timing.
Give this video a big thumbs up.